Hey, what's up, Unbroken Nation? As you may know, if you follow me on the social, I was in New York City last week speaking in front of some incredible human beings. And at one point, I got a text from a friend, and he was like, "Hey, you should probably go to Times Square because the event hosts have put up a billboard with your picture on it." And I was like, "Holy shit, seriously?" And so I was down in Chelsea, like, just walking around, having some me time, and I darted literally to the, um, to the subway. It's funny because I, like, literally ran because I was like, "Oh my god, I gotta get there." And so I get on the train, I get to Times Square, I'm sitting there, and I think when I looked at the clock, I must have just missed it because I had come to find out it played, like, at 2 after the hour, and it was, like, 5 after the hour when I got there, and so for the next hour, I just sat there, just staring at this screen. I didn't know what time it was gonna come on, but I just sat there watching, and as I sat there, was reflecting and thinking about this journey. The chaos, really, in a sense, that has led me to where I am today. Now, you guys know my backstory, so I won't go into depth of that, but, you know, coming from a background and a childhood in which the most dangerous thing that I could do would be to speak my truth, as I sat on the bench there in Times Square, like, looking at all the people, just the speed and the movement and the sounds and the lights, I thought to myself, "It's my truth that has brought me here." It is speaking it and the willingness to step into it that has effectively set me free and allowed me to be in a position to become who I am today. And in thinking that, like, I felt like even right now, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it because it was such an emotional experience to sit there and be like, wait a second, I'm about to be on a billboard in Times Square, New York City, ultimately probably one of the most famous destinations on planet Earth. And then on Thursday, I'm going to speak in front of hundreds of people about Think Unbroken and this journey of becoming the hero of your own story, healing, letting go of the past, and stepping into what's next in your life. I'm going to get to talk about the coaching programs. I got to talk about the books. I got to do all these things. But ultimately, what I get to do is share my truth. And it was profound because for a long time I hid from it. And I think I've shared this one time on the show. I'm going to share it again. I used to have this insane reoccurring nightmare as a kid. And when I say reoccurring, I mean every day for 15 years, I had this nightmare. I was in this log cabin with my mother, and we went to a store that was also in a log cabin, and there was all these people. And Freddy Krueger came. This is graphic, just so you know. Freddy Krueger came from Nightmare on Elm Street with the knives for fingers, and he started murdering my mom right there in the grocery store at the checkout while people were bagging. And I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, and nobody is paying attention. Nobody cares. And I had that nightmare forever. And one day I was watching this movie, and I don't remember what the movie was, but they said if you talk about your nightmares, they lose their power. And so I think a couple of days later, I'm in therapy. I start sharing it. I share it again. I share it again, share it again. And what happened was that after doing that multiple times, it lost its power. Like, I took the energy back from that that nightmare, that traumatic experience, and I haven't had that nightmare in, like, 6 or 7 years now. And what I was thinking about is this idea we all have this darkness that we've experienced. We all have this pain, this suffering. It is a part of our journey, whether we like it or not, and if you're like me, you don't like it, but it's a part of it. And there is something unbelievably powerful about the decision that we make to openly share that darkness. because when you bring darkness to light, it can no longer be dark. Now, of course, and I've said this before, I think there's a very safe way to do this. That's, in the scope of therapy or coaching or mentorship or counseling or anonymous groups or whatever those are. I don't think that the most appropriate place is to dump your life onto social media. And look, everybody's got to figure out their own thing. But the point in saying this is that I do genuinely, with my heart, believe that there is validity in addressing your truth and bringing all of the darkness about your experience to light. And it's scary and it's uncomfortable and it's not something that like, even myself, like, in the beginning of this journey, it was so hard for me to tell the truth in therapy because I was scared I was going to be judged. I was scared I was going to be shamed. I was scared that I was going to have, my therapist look at me and be like, "Oh, we can't help you. You're fucked." Because that's how I felt because of how dark it is. And like, if you think about this, if you listen to like my origin story, you listen to the background of who I am or the show, I mean, I'm really only telling you about half of 1% of my journey.